So, Olivier Blanchard, economic counselor of the IMF. In the new World Economic Outlook update, it seems like we're in a perpetual waiting game, waiting for the global economic recovery. Is this a sign that we're in the new mediocre?
New mediocre strikes me as too strong a word, but it's clear if I look forward that the growth we're going to have is lower than the growth we had, say, earlier at the start of the 2000s. If you look at advanced economies, they're clearly suffering from the legacies of a crisis. Looking forward, their potential growth is clearly lower. If you look at emerging market economies, they really have had a fairly large decrease in growth. So all in all, it's not great. What we forecast for this year is 3.3% for the world economy. Next year, 3.8%. So not too bad, not great.
So, of course, when you're looking at the global economy right now, the attention of the world is very much focused on Europe with the Greek referendum behind us. What's your outlook there?
So what's happening in Greece is dramatic and sad. And Greece is going to have a very hard time. But for the world as a whole, Greece is a very small country. It's less than 0.5% of world GDP. It's about 2% of GDP of the Eurozone. The mechanical linkages, be it financial or trade, are relatively limited, so the mechanical effects are going to be small. Now, what we worry about in cases like this is what Rumsfeld called the unknown unknowns, the things we had not thought about, which might derail something bigger.
Now, shifting gears and regions, the annual meetings are going to be in Lima in October. What is your outlook for Latin America?
So the prospects for Latin America are not very good. We've revised growth down every year for the last 5 years. Looking back, it's clear that what was helping earlier was high increasing commodity prices, but now they have stabilized, even decreased in some cases. The financial conditions, international financial conditions were good. They are going to be tougher looking forward. So all of the countries have to adjust. Some of them are adjusting with only a small decrease in growth. Some of them are clearly having a hard time.
So now that there are so many countries, and you mentioned, we just talked about the case of Latin America specifically, what are some of your recommendations to boost potential growth?
I think it's well adapted, well chosen, specific structural reforms, and they are going to vary from country to country. In some countries, you need labor market reforms. And the issue is not so much to push growth, but to redistribute employment. There are countries where the youth unemployment rate is incredibly high. You need to change that. There are countries where the issue is much more in the product market. You need to remove some of the barriers to entry. This will increase growth. The important thing here is to know exactly which ones are the most important and then to do them.
So now that you're releasing the last World Economic Outlook update as chief economist, are you looking back at your legacy here, and what do you hope will be in store for the IMF over the next 10 to 15 years?
So there are two parts to your question. The first one is legacies, and I'm not into legacies, so let me say something about the fund. I think the great strength of the fund is its credibility, and that in turn comes from very good technical expertise and an open mind, the ability to look at facts and change your views. What has happened during the crisis is it has forced us on many topics to reconsider old wisdoms, either confirm them or infirm them. And I hope that that really continues. Now for the fund as a whole, I think the mandate of the fund and what the fund does is exactly what it should be. Basically, it is to do multilateral surveillance, look at the world. Nobody else can do it as well. Bilateral surveillance and programs for countries which are in trouble. Liquidity provision when the world is tense and needs it. So I think the fund is doing exactly what it should be doing. It has to kind of make each program better, but no radical change is needed.
Olivier Blanchard, thank you.
Thank you.